I'm gonna need a minute. I'm still processing a lot. Welcome to Star Joes. I'm your host Ryan, and today I am going to be giving you my reaction review of Star Wars: The Last Jedi. This is one of my reaction videos where basically I take what just happened or what I just read or whatever and tell you exactly what my thoughts were initially without thinking too much ahead of time, really having the time to process anything. It's all unedited. This is exactly my raw feelings towards whatever it was I experienced. So what I'm going to be talking about today is Star Wars: The Last Jedi. I actually just went and saw it. I saw it at 7 o'clock, which was the earliest I could see it here. And it was just today. And yeah, as I kind of said at the opening of this, there's just a lot to process, and not in a bad way. There's a lot that happens in this movie. First off, I love the movie. I thought it was fantastic. I had a couple of guys sitting next to me, kind of probably a little bit older than me, and they really came across as the type of guys that were like, the original trilogy is perfect and everything else afterwards hasn't been up to par. You could tell that from some of the comments they were making before the movie even started, and then certainly from the comments that they made after the movie ended. If you're one of those people, this movie is not going to change how you view it, your perception at all. If you had big problems with The Force Awakens and Rogue One and had huge problems with the prequels, this isn't going to really change that for you. I would be shocked if it does. In my opinion, I absolutely love the original trilogy. Obviously, it's been a huge part of my life. But if you look at them critically, they're not perfect movies either. And this one isn't perfect, but it is amazing in my opinion. One of the things that this movie did, in my opinion, very well is it took a lot of the nostalgia that we saw in The Force Awakens, and it gave a lot of nods to previous Star Wars movies. So you definitely had at least a scene or two that reminded me of A New Hope. There was a scene or two that reminded me of Empire Strikes Back. There was definitely some nods to Return of the Jedi in there. There was even a nod, in my opinion, to the Dark Empire comic. So if you're familiar with that comic, which is a fantastic read, there is a scene in there that I feel like had to be inspired from that comic. So that was awesome as well. There's definitely some nods to the prequels in here as well. But they're nods. They're not, there was a lot of complaints when The Force Awakens came out that was just kind of a rehash of A New Hope. And I do feel like they kind of had to do that to gain back the trust of the fans who were upset with the prequels. This movie doesn't have to do that anymore, and it does take Star Wars in a really great direction. It also does something, now this is a complete non-spoiler review, so I will have a spoiler review later on, probably later in the week or something like that, again when I've had a little bit more time to process, and in that I'll be able to talk about some things. But I will say that this movie does do something that has never been done in a Star Wars movie before. And it's actually not a bad thing at all. It actually helps propel the movie in a very good direction. So, and I've heard other reviewers kind of say that, and now I understand what they mean and why they're not saying what it is in a non-spoiler area. So the great thing about this one for me is that it took the Force Awakens, all the nostalgia, the characters we knew, introducing new characters and all that. It took that, and it also took elements from Rogue One. One of the things I really loved about Rogue One was that you got the wars part of Star Wars. There was consequences. There were deaths that happened. There was a battle going on, and there was, even the side that would win didn't necessarily win, and we definitely get that element in this movie as well. So it was kind of like taking the best of both worlds and putting them together. One of the things that this movie does really, really well is it introduces new characters to you, and for some of them, you really feel like this is going to be a new character that I get to follow, in this movie and in future movies. And then things happen to them. it's a war. You know, people are going to die. And the thing I loved about that is that there's real consequences. You feel like there's real consequences happening because you don't know really necessarily who is safe and who is not. You don't know when you're introduced to a new character, is this somebody that I should get attached to, or am I going to lose them? And that is the sign of, to me, of a great film. That was the thing that was fantastic for me with this movie, was I felt like it wasn't just a good Star Wars movie, I felt like it was a good film. And you can definitely tell Rian Johnson, the director's touch and feel on this. I totally understand now why Disney has said, here, we're giving you your own trilogy to do and work with, because his direction and how he shot things and how he told the story was very, very well done. Like I said, it's not a perfect movie, but I don't feel like any of the Star Wars movies were, and I don't think really any movie necessarily is a perfect movie. There's definitely a story element in here with the new character of Rose and Finn that I feel like could have been told a little bit differently. I didn't mind it. I thought it was good. I enjoyed it, and I understood why it was being told. I just felt like it kind of slowed things down a little bit. It didn't last very long in the movie, but at the same time, I was like, okay, I don't know if I needed it to be told that way. Now, that being said, the character of Rose, I think, was a very strong character. I really enjoyed her. I enjoyed her more than I expected to, because before this movie came out, I didn't really know much about who this Rose character was, and we actually get to learn a lot about her in this movie, and you come to find that you really, really like her. Finn is probably used as much as he was in The Force Awakens, maybe even a little bit less. But I think the reason he was used less was to kind of heighten and give some more time to Poe Dameron, who wasn't used very much in The Force Awakens. Poe Dameron in this movie is fantastic. He definitely has that Han Solo vibe and swagger to him, which we really need since Han Solo isn't around anymore for these movies. You definitely get an idea as far as why he is the best pilot in the Resistance. I mean, there's just some space battles that are absolutely amazing. We also get a lot of time with Rey, understandably, and things leave off, where things left off in The Force Awakens is where things pick up in this movie. Rey in The Force Awakens became one of my favorite characters, and in this movie, that is just heightened. We definitely learn about her lineage. I'm not going to reveal that. All I will say is it was something that I was kind of hoping would be the case for her. I'm glad with what they revealed about her. That being said, they only kind of revealed it and didn't really confirm it. So there's still an opening there for them to kind of change that lineage, but I hope they keep it as it is. She's definitely a dynamic character. Daisy Ridley does an amazing job as Rey. Speaking of amazing jobs, Mark Hamill as Luke Skywalker. I had heard before seeing this movie that he gives the performance of his life, of his career. Definitely the best performance of Luke Skywalker, and I cannot agree more. Mark Hamill does an incredible job. He's everything that you would want Luke to be at this stage in his life. He portrays the character so well, and you understand where he is and why he's acting the way he is as the story moves on. You don't get to find out everything right away, but you definitely find out later on what has brought him to this point. Now, with as great as his performance was, a couple of things that were kind of down for me. One was Captain Phasma. In this movie, I feel like she's shown about as much as she is in The Force Awakens, which is a shame. Now, there's an awesome battle scene that we see with her and Finn. We saw it in the trailer, and that scene is pretty awesome. And that's pretty much all you see of her. I mean, you do see a bit more of her, but it's not a whole lot. She really has become that Boba Fett character where she's on the screen for a little bit, she looks awesome, and you feel like she should have more going on with her. Supreme Leader Snoke, you get to see him about as much as you get to see the Emperor in Return of the Jedi. And I think it's the right balance. I've heard some complaints that, you know, I feel like Snoke, we should have seen more of him. And I don't know if I agree with that. I think that we saw the right amount of him. We definitely find out how powerful he is. We find out, you know, a little bit more about how he rules over this First Order. In his chambers, we see the Praetorian Guard, which are the red guys in samurai armor. They are incredible. There is a fight scene with them. In Return of the Jedi, you got to see the royal guards of the Emperor, but you always wanted them to kick butt. And the only time we ever really saw that happen was in the comics, Crimson Empire comics. That's the only time we saw like how these guys were really the elite of the elite, but we never saw it in the movie. This one, we get to see it in the movie, and I thought that was such an amazing moment. We get to see more of General Hux in this movie, and see the type of leader he is, and you know, I thought he gave a great performance, really worked well against Kylo Ren, which, you know, Kylo Ren was incredible as well. There's definitely some turning points with his character that play out through the movie. You really can't guess 100% which way he's going to go, and that was kind of the beauty of this as well. Again, kind of like I was saying with characters that you get to be introduced to and not sure if they're going to be sticking around or not. With Kylo Ren, you're not sure, you know, is he going to turn good? Has he been affected by killing his father? Is, you know, what has been going on for him, and what is going on with him mentally right now? You know, is he following Snoke, you know, blindly? We just really don't know. There's also another character we get introduced to that kind of plays into that questioning, and that's Vice Admiral Amilyn Holdo. She is a really interesting character. She has to kind of take charge for a little while, and you start questioning her motives. You start wondering, is she really one of the good guys? And you really don't find out that answer for sure until really late in the movie. And I really like that as well. I like the fact that throughout this movie, I wasn't 100% sure about what to expect next. It wasn't just laid out very smoothly. You didn't just know, okay, they're going to get out of this and this is how they're going to get out of it. And I found that really fascinating. I thought that was just a fantastic thing to do, because I don't like to be able to just guess where the story's going to go. I like the fact that they're taking Star Wars in this direction of, like, you know, let's show what it's like when, you know, what might really be happening. One of the characters also we get introduced to is Benicio del Toro's character, which is, he goes by DJ. I don't even know if they even mention his name in the movie. I don't recall it. They may have, with a name like DJ, it could have been said very quickly. But I liked his character. I'm actually hoping we see more of him in the next movie. I felt like he, again, was a character that was kind of underused. I understand what his purpose was and what he did and what his motivations were, but I kind of wanted to see more of that. BB-8 was fantastic. Again, just really great character, really great droid that they used. Didn't see a whole lot of R2-D2 and C-3PO, but they are in the movie, but I think just the right amount. The Porgs, I had heard that they were not annoying, which gave me hope, and I went and saw the movie, and I don't think they were really that annoying. I will say that it makes sense why we see them like we see them in the trailer. They're interesting characters. They are what I was hoping they would be, which is that they were, for the most part, these background characters, these background creatures. And speaking of background creatures, if you saw my review of the trailer, I referred to these crystal fox creatures, and that's pretty much what they're called in the movies. They're called crystal creatures. And they're actually in the movie a little bit longer. They actually play a part in the movie, and it's done in a very subtle and really cool way. So really liked that. The vehicles in this movie, you know, they definitely show an evolution from the original trilogy, which is something you would expect. I really loved the music in this. I know there was some complaints with The Force Awakens that the musical score really didn't wow people like past ones by John Williams. I actually thought that this was definitely a step up. You definitely noticed the music in this movie, which I think you needed to. Yeah, it was a great movie. Like I said, it does have some flaws. There's some scenes where like CG was used, and it wasn't the strongest CG in my opinion. But at no point did anything take me out of the story, take me out of enjoying this movie. I think it's a fantastic addition to the trilogy. Much like Empire Strikes Back, we're left with a victory of sorts, but also at a dark point for the Resistance. So, and I really like that. So it definitely sets things up for the next movie to come out and see where things go. The way things are set up right now, I don't really know if Episode 9 should be the last movie. I know there's been talks of saying that that will be the last one of the whole Skywalker series and everything else, but I don't know if it needs to be that. With the direction and the things that they've done, it is, I think they could keep going. I think they could keep going with these new characters. I think the fandom has accepted these characters, and I think with this movie, you're going to accept them even more. Like you said, with Rey, I love the character even more now than I did from The Force Awakens. Yeah, I just think that this was a great addition, and I'm looking forward to seeing where they go with it. I definitely want to see it again. There's a lot more that I have to say, but a lot of that is going to be spoiler territory, and I don't want to get into that in this video. So I think I'm just going to close on what I've said so far. Like I said, I could go on and on about different characters and everything else, but I think that's enough when it comes to the non-spoiler stuff. Like I said, I'm hoping to maybe see the movie again in the near future, and then I'll do a spoiler review where I can really open up and talk about some of the things that actually happen in the movie, some of the character changes and everything else. Because if I start talking about a certain character, and talk about their plot, it's gonna completely spoil some of the surprises and some of the things that happen. I would definitely say avoid any types of spoilers out there. There are big things that happen in this movie, and if you find out about some of them, it can definitely spoil the movie. So stay away from things as much as possible if you have any interest in not being spoiled. So with that being said, let me know what you thought of Star Wars The Last Jedi, and how does it rank for you when it comes to like the original trilogy, when it comes to the other new movies that came out, when it comes to the prequels. Just love to hear what your thoughts were on the movie. Put it in the comments below. And yeah, like I said, I don't know what to say other than, like I said, I'm still processing a lot of this. So, but I definitely love the movie. I can't wait to see it again. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and close by saying the Force will be with you, because knowing us is half the battle. Take care, everyone.